Welcome to another episode where we spill the tea on all things Flea. From wild vendor stories to incredible finds, we're bringing you the voices, treasures, and secrets of the flea market world. So grab a seat and let's dive in. This is you, me, and the Flea.
Hey fam, welcome to another episode of You, Me, and the Flea. And today I am joined by Panayota Dukas, the lovely one and only. Okay, this is going to be kind of a off-the-cuff episode, guys. I'm really nervous because I had zero preparation for it, which if you've known me in the over 2 years now, I am the prepper of these. And so the fact that I don't know what's about to be asked of me is a little scary. I'm not going to lie.
You'll roll with it.
Should I?
You'll roll with it.
Yeah.
No. But I think it's time for the lens to turn on you a little bit for us to learn about your experiences at the flea market. So
Okay, yeah. I'm excited about this.
I'm actually very curious for you to tell us if you remember the first time you went to a flea market, but not necessarily Swap-O-Rama, just like a flea market. Because I'm sure you had been to another one before.
We're jumping right in here. So yes, the first question.
In your impression,
My
you
impression.
remember how old you were.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time we went to a flea market was in Greece. If you would classify that as a flea market, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's called the Agora. And I just remember feeling very similarly to how I feel now, where it's like very fun, very loud, very stimulating to the senses, very vibrant, yes, very culturally driven. Mm-hmm. You know, as a kid, I felt like very overwhelmed, I feel like, because it was always
A lot of people.
yeah, because lots going on, lots of items for sale, lots of ways to turn your head, and it was like hot, and I don't know, and it was just fun. But
Do you remember wanting things? Like, do you remember being like, I want to buy this and this and this?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mostly like the clothes and like, you know, the bags and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Shoes.
Mm-hmm. The shoes for sure. Yeah, especially when we went to Greece, like that's where we went to shop. And so it was always like very fun to do so. But also, I mean, in Greece and Europe, like from what I see, it's also very like farmers market vibes too. So I remember loving the smells of like the fresh breads and like the fish. Yeah, for sure. The fish.
Not loving those smells, but you know.
Yeah, but I mean, but still, like sometimes they would like saute it in front of you and things like that. And so that was delicious. But like, oh my gosh, the breads and like the pastries and the homemade like croissants and things off. I can still smell them.
So good. So good.
Yeah, very good. So I loved it.
Do you remember like something you bought then that you really loved?
It's a good one. I want to say like shoes for sure. Like almost like these like, maybe you remember them too. They were like woodeny sandals maybe.
It rings a bell.
Yeah, something. They were like, I mean, they were just different. I remember that. And then also, so one of my best friends, a lifelong friend at this point, when I was in 6th grade, so you must have been not too far off. It was like when Skechers it was before that. But anyways, like they were these huge white sneakers and they were like platform sneakers. I don't know if you remember them. And there was like a small like silver detail like in them. And I remember being like, I want those shoes so bad. And Mom was like, yeah, I'll get them for you.
You could actually get them.
Yes, because they were like affordable and they were like brand new. They were so cute. I was obsessed with them. I wore them to like my first day of school, like the first week of school. And my best friend at like now, like that's how we met because she was like, I like your shoes. Yeah, and I was like, you do? They're from Greece. I literally said, thanks, they're from Greece.
Yeah. And people are like, wait, what? What is that?
And she was like, oh, that's cool. And we immediately became friends after that.
Yeah.
But they weren't in style yet. Like Skechers hadn't come until like later down the road. And so I remember like, kind of, I don't think I got made fun of, but like people were like, no one really like liked them back then, you know?
A little ahead, right?
It was a little ahead. And then I think, yeah, somebody told us like, oh yeah, European fashions are like ahead of the time.
I remember people would say that, yeah, because we'd get things and then a year later,
like, didn't you get like gaucho pants in Greece? And then like, or we saw them there and we're like, ew, who wears those?
Slouchy big things.
Yes, and then I wore them for 4 years straight.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I would say those for sure.
Do you remember like here in the U.S., like your first flea market experiences?
That's a good question. I feel like I want to say like I do remember going to Alsop when we were little, but like I don't at the same time. Like it was very, I don't know, like mom said that we went all the time. My mom said we went, but I'm trying to. I feel like in the U.S., the first time I like saw it would be like locals farmers markets. And I remember like those pretty specifically, but then actual like flea markets, I mean, for example, like our Ashland location, the one in Chicago that you've been to, I don't feel like I ever experienced something like that in the U.S. before.
Yeah.
If that
That
makes
was
sense.
like on that scale.
Yeah, nothing to that caliber where I was like, whoa. And then in comparison, even now, like obviously being in the industry and seeing some of these other flea markets, right? Like in Texas and Denver. I haven't seen any in California yet, but some of these other ones that I've seen, it's like, whoa, to see that they're even on a bigger scale with like amusement rides. And,
Oh, really?
oh, yeah.
Okay, I haven't been talking.
Yeah. So these are like crazy. They're like entertainment destinations essentially. And so in addition to having thousands of vendors. So it's
Yeah,
really cool.
because in my mind, when I remember like some of the first flea markets I went to here, like I remember it feeling like a fair. Like there
Yes.
being popcorn and cotton candy and
Yep.
like candied corn nuts, that type of thing. Or like corn on the cob. Like I remember it feeling
Right.
like a mix, because the food that they did have, now I know a lot of places have like food trucks, but at the time I remember it being that kind of like carnival snackage.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, in my brain sometimes I'm like, wait, was that a fair or was that a flea market?
Right. I think that's kind of probably when they like separated a little bit. Actually, I totally just remembered. Remember Uncle John's in
That's
Cedar
what
Lake?
I'm thinking about.
I remember going there, definitely. Which is pretty close to like our Alsop location, but that was the nearest one for us, which growing up, that one was even like 15, 20 minutes away. And it's isn't it interesting how when we were growing up, there was like really nothing over there in Cedar Lake, and now it's like so built up and a little bit more busy, I think. And so shout out to Uncle John's. I'm sure they're getting a little bit more busy as the years have gone by, but I actually do remember going to that flea market.
Yeah, I remember that one too.
That one wasn't very stimulating though, because I think it felt a little bit more spread out. And I don't remember, like, now they have like entertainment, and I know that they have, you know, some food trucks and things like that, but I don't remember being young and going there and being like, whoa, you know what I mean? It was very chill and relaxed.
Yeah. Maybe it was a little bit more like practical in the sense of like, I'm looking for this
Cheap use things like
I remember there being like tools there, like gardening or like
I was gonna say like planters.
As a kid, you're like, I don't know this. Like, I don't know what this is.
And plus, I feel like when we were younger, there like they had a lot of like animal feed and like things like that too.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty practical. Yeah.
To the average person from Lowell and and Salier and stuff.
And so at the flea markets now, when you're browsing, when you're like looking around, what are things that you're kind of like most excited about buying for yourself? And then what are some things that like you've seen like become a trend, let's say, in vendors in like the last few years?
Yeah.
Like the changes that you've seen in vendors over the last few years.
I mean, the first thing I immediately am always attracted to is obviously like anything makeup related usually. And I think over the years, like So I would say like anything makeup related, any like honestly good used like clothing. I'm like always like looking through those piles, to be honest, or like those clothing racks, for example. But I think like, and I bring them up a lot, but they're the ones that I like love and am the most passionate about. But we have like specific vendors that have, you know, they're like licensed to sell, pallets of like things from Target or, you know, things that don't sell. Like, you know, I think Target has a lot of contracts with like Goodwill and things like that. And so whatever doesn't sell, like after they put it on clearance, like people are able to buy like the pallets of it and sell them. So like, for example, we have a vendor who has that, and I just bought like a pair of flats from Target, brand new.
Perfect.
They were in my cart for like $39.95, and I bought them for $5.
That's amazing.
In the box, brand new, everything. Yeah. So like things like that, I love going through.
Yeah, if you just wait.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah. And she never has like a ton of things, but like the things that she does have, like I love to scrap because I'm like, it's Target, you know?
Yeah, we're going to lose that.
Yeah. So I love that. And I think that that's like evolved, right? Like that's kind of like something newer. Like people have like, you know, these contracts, like I said, through Amazon, through Target, through CVS.
Oh, they have Amazon contracts too.
Yeah. So things that have been like returned, right? Like they're still probably in good condition, or
new,
if boxes are, dented up, the products in there, like they sell. I mean, and it's great quality things. So I love that.
That's something that a lot of people might not know. Like if you're approaching a vendor, is that something that you would know? Like this is Target.
Yeah, usually they would tell you.
Okay,
right.
They'll tell you about it. They don't have like a sign or something.
Right. So like, for example, there's a vendor there that has like these contracts with CVS. She has one for. So whatever CVS doesn't sell after their final clearance, you know, they auction off like pallets. So sometimes you don't know really what you're getting in these like big pallets. They're like taped off and whatever. And so sometimes you could get clothing. Sometimes you could get, you know, Christmas decor. Sometimes you could get lotion. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it's just a wide variety of things. And so when she gets them, she's like, you know, she pays a specific amount. This is very low ball and I'm just spitting it out there. But like, let's say she pays $500 for it. You know, she'll flip and sell the items in there for like $2-3, like, you know, and she's still making like a profit.
And you're still getting a deal. And
you're getting a great deal on like great things that are, and everyone always says like, oh, but it's expired. It's like, they're not. I mean, I'm the first to tell you that like, that's the first thing I'll look at. And it's definitely not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So for example, there was like these new, you know, so with that being said, right, it's like, it might be like the name brand that you're seeing at the stores, but it might not be the color you want, right? But it's like, to me, it's like, okay, I mean, a lip gloss is a lip gloss. Like, I don't know, like if you you can blend it with other things, and I'd rather pay $2 than, you know, or give it a try for $2, you know?
Yeah.
So those are definitely my favorites. And then I would also say too, some of my favorites, like the produce, I feel like you cannot go wrong. It's another weird stigma too that flea markets have, where it's like, oh, everything's like moldy or bad, and that's not true.
Yeah.
So I love that. And then I always love like authentic, unique pieces, right? So whether it's, you know, there's a lot of things from Mexico, a lot of things from where people are from, you know, there's like a Polish lady that sells some cool like Polish type of jewelry and things like that. And then also like anybody's like art crafts, right? So it's like we have a vendor that sells, he'll take like wine bottles or like vodka bottles and cut them down and then fill them with like beeswax and like, you know, just very cool things like that, right? Or like when people make soaps, it's really pretty, you know? And yeah, it's very cool. So things like that, I would say those are like my top few items.
Yeah, there's almost like a little pocket of it that's like kind of arts and crafts.
100%. So anything a vendor like, you know, can curate themselves. And then I mean, I'm basic too, where it's like you love the clothes and then like electronics. I mean, who doesn't stop?
Yeah, like you need a phone case, anything that you need.
100%. Speakers, things that you don't need. You're just kind of like,
headphones.
let me take a look.
Yeah. What do you think, like young people who are coming to the flea market, what do you see them kind of trending toward? I would assume like that kind of stuff, like electronics, headphones, it's going to be like useful for them.
Yeah. You know, it's cool too, like with the electronics, all of those vendors for the most part have become like really good friends of ours at this point, and like they will change your phone case, you know, if it's cracked, like right there. Like they're very helpful, they're very cool. So yeah, a lot of people do flock to them, like just organically, because it's like a fun stand to be around, you know. And there's so many options. Like it's one of those things too where it's like, especially with electronics, I feel like for example, if I went to Walmart or Target right now and I was looking for a phone case, it's like, okay, well, you probably only have like 2 or 3 like little things to like patterns to choose from, like 2 rows, you know, options. These people have an entire truck full, you know what I mean? So it's like, do you want something bedazzled? Do you want something plain? Do you want it to be matte? Do you want it to be glossy? Right. There's so many options. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So almost overwhelming.
A bit of variety.
100%. So like that. But I think younger people are flocking to more towards like thrift items. You know what I mean? Like, obviously clothing for sure. I'll always see them like hunting through the clothes. But there's also really good like used or kind of gently used like home decor. So I'm talking like figurines that you would put like on a bookcase, you know, like all those like funky round spheres. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, something exactly. Like that, yeah. And it's all like Target brand. I've seen things from Ross. I've seen things from TJ Maxx. So you know what I mean? Like things with still tags on them. And I think a lot of people, I've seen like younger people flock to a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah, because if you're a young person and you're trying to like build your life or build a home, it's, you know, it's like you have to do it kind of like piece by piece, item by item, you know, a small thing that you're trying to fill in at a time.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I think those top two things for sure.
What do you tend to see like older individuals?
Oh gosh,
flocking toward? I can make some assumptions. Yes, you know, like some antiques or some like collector items, like plain, you know, stuff, train sets.
Yeah, depending on the location. I think each one of our locations has a few antique sellers, like genuine antique sellers. Antiques are hard though because they're expensive. Right. And so like, you know, if you don't have a demographic that appreciates that, you know, you're not going to sell your $600 item to someone who doesn't really care for that stuff, you know?
Right. And it's like, you know, there's a split, right, between like going to a flea market for like a practical thing that you want it to be on a budget and this kind of more like hobbyist thing that you might be willing to pay a little bit more for.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I think every time I see the older people shopping, they're shopping for like either practical houseware essentials, and I mean like laundry detergents, you know, like because we have some vendors that sell like the Costco sized industrial size kind of things, and so like I see a lot of people because they know deals, you know what I mean, and so they know like, oh, okay, this guy's selling it for $14, it's, you know, 19 at Costco, and so they know those few dollar differences, and so they'll get them. Exactly. So I see them flocking towards a lot of that. Same thing with like shampoos, conditioners, like, you know, more day-to-day things that like maybe they would stop at a dollar store for. They'll just grab it there. Oh my gosh, like things older people love, like the lawn mowers, the like lawn furniture,
like the gardening tools like I was mentioning earlier.
Just any of that's out where they're like, I need it but I don't, but like I don't want to spend money on it, that kind of stuff. And then of course like you get like, you know, the old dudes that love like their sports stuff, and so they'll look at, you know, like jerseys or like little figurines and stuff. And you know, obviously you can't help as a lady like looking through clothes. But I would say for sure like anything house related, so like ceiling fans, paint.
That's right, you can get those. Outdoor pots,
anything, outdoor pots, plants. Oh my gosh, that's a big one too. Like at our Alsop location, and Ashland, they sell like trees and like
That's
beautiful, amazing things. And people will be in those sections.
Those are so expensive.
They have gotten so expensive. Yeah. And we have vendors coming from like Wisconsin, Michigan that have like, plant farms that.
They bring on their farms and they zone there.
Yep. So a lot of that for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to think anything else, but those are the most things. Practical.
Yeah.
You
I'm thinking too, like, what are some like practical services that people provide at the flea market? Because I remember one time going and there was like a nail salon. I don't know if that's the right word for it. Like a little nail kiosk, nail tech. And then sometimes, right, you can also get like a haircut.
Oh, yeah. I mean, each location for the most, yes, every single location has a barber or, someone to cut your hair.
Wow. Consistently.
For 3 locations, there's like permanent, and they do well. I mean, our coworker gets his hair cut. I think you're like 10 or 15 bucks.
Nice. Looks fresh.
Fresh, and it's very quick. Yeah. So, and that's the thing too. Like you can get your husband or significant other can get like their haircut while you're just like browsing, like great experience. So they have that. I think every single one has like a seamstress in there or a tailor of some sort. Every single location, for a fact, I know has some sort of individual that does tech repairs. So like laptop, computer.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know about that one.
TV repairs, iPad repairs, anything like that, any devices like that. And then they also like refurbish, so they're also selling, used iPads or things like that too. So
can you trade things in with them, or?
I'm not sure exactly what their services are. I'm sure you could.
Yeah.
But I just know that they're like actual tech repair. So there's those services. We have a lot of like, your big box companies like wanting to come and sell items. So like T-Mobile, we've had a truck come from T-Mobile. Really? Yeah. Like, insurance companies like State Farm, there's reps out there that will help you with that stuff. We have a tax guy at one of our locations that helps people with taxes.
Is he there regularly, or is he show up during tax season?
I think during the off season, he's an attorney. So like during the off season, he helps with like legal advice.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And he answers questions for people right there. Right. I'm trying to think what other services. There's painters. At one of our locations, there's like an HVAC guy that has like, yeah, right. So they're promoting their own businesses, but they, will help you set up things during that day. I guess in other terms of like services, I don't know if you classify it as a service, but like furniture, there's like a rep that has like mattresses and like catalogs, and you can kind of flow through the catalog and choose.
And then pick it up elsewhere.
Yeah, or they'll schedule like a delivery. I think they do like delivery. Yeah. So all of these folks, usually any of the service providers, they have like a storefront somewhere else, and then they're whatever. The optometrist at ALSIP is a big one. Yeah,
that's great.
That's really
I didn't know about that one. So you can get an eye exam.
Oh yeah, yep.
On a Saturday.
Hair repairs, glasses, pickups. Yeah. I mean, because think about it. Sometimes people want to pick up their stuff on the weekends, and and this guy has that
closed. Yeah,
totally. There's like a hat dealer. There's like knife dealers, right? There's like one company that has like that specializes in like kitchen knives, and so they sell that. I mean, I know I'm like missing a ton, but the nail techs, there's barbers, like actual barber equipment too.
Yeah. And I bet these people have built a very loyal clientele, right? Yes. Showing up. Yeah. I'm just thinking on the weekends, every weekend.
Custom printing. Yes. There's like at each location, typically there's someone that will like customize like clothing, so you can get like, something with your name on it or whatever. The jewelers. Oh my gosh. There's a lot of jewelers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, like they're insane. They're just really great quality products and professionals, you know?
And I think that that's probably one of the little like pockets of the flea market that maybe people don't remember. It's like, okay, yes, you can go to like shop, but there are also services.
100%. We did an episode like one of the first few episodes of like just the services. So like there's a locksmith in there too. There's everything. Yeah. And it really is something that you wouldn't know, you know, but that's one thing that we love, where it's like, you know, if you do need a key made, you can shop around while you wait, you know, versus where in your normal life you would have to like drop off your key.
You have to drive,
yes,
like on the other side of town to get all of these things done. And so it's like you just show up and like you were saying, like you can be browsing,
totally entertain your kid,
like,
have lunch, something.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Same thing with like, you know, the jewelers. Like we had, for example, I had brought a bracelet and it needed like a new link or something, and the woman was busy, so we just dropped it off with her. She's like, give me, you know, 40 minutes. So we just walked around and enjoyed ourselves, and then and it was ready for pickup, like any other store, you know. Great customer service. Like these people know what they're doing, and they're good at it too.
That's amazing. Yeah. And you build a relationship with them over time.
Yes.
Too. So yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah. What are some things that you haven't seen yet that you would like to see?
Ooh, that's
as far as like opportunities for like vendors, or like something that you're like, I can see this being a trend in the future, but it's not quite yet.
Ooh.
That's kind of a...
Yeah, it is. It is because like, okay, like for example, we just had a vendor she's an esthetician. She's in the beauty industry, and she is renting a booth now and is putting a vending machine in it with eyelashes. So like she's necessarily not going to be there, right? But like her products are going to be in this huge vending machine that she bought.
Cool.
So it's like, I feel like, you know, that's something that's like a little bit more innovative, and maybe something that's not that as far as I know, like we've had vending machines, but nothing like that. So I'm very curious.
That's a specific one. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I know, exactly. I mean, and you think about it, you go to like the airport and they have all these like random vending machines of like headphones, or, you know, Kylie Jenner's in there, or Sprinkles cupcakes, and like, you know, Clark's nuts, and like all this stuff, like all these like good products that people like, but you know, the brand doesn't necessarily want to like pay for a storefront or employees or whatever. So it's like, well, let's just put a vending machine. And I don't know. So I guess my whole point is, just when I think of something that hasn't been done, that's not like that would be cool, someone does it. Someone has like an innovative idea. A few years back, we had a vendor who was wanting to sell lessons to his studio, and he was like an ice skater type of thing. So he bought a few spaces and put up this like mock ice rink. And
that's so cool.
So cool. It's like little kids, I think they paid like a couple bucks or something. I don't remember how he like ran it necessarily, but he would like, so these kids would like play on this like faux ice.
Wow. And in the summer, they're like,
I mean, it was going out. His space was inside, so it was just very cool. But yeah, like who thinks of that? Cool. You know? Yeah. So anyways, I think that if you're an innovative entrepreneur and you have an idea, I think the flea market is a great place to like test it for sure. And then with that being said, like, there's no like limits really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's no kind of limit to what your idea is. So I don't know. So when it comes to like, what do I want to see? I just want to see more cool ideas like that, you know?
I would have not thought to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. More out of the box ideas and concepts I think would be really cool. So if you have any, again, like it's a great place to test it. So
yeah, and especially for people who do have like a brick and mortar, and people who don't, like this is like a really creative space where you can kind of experiment. Like I know you've mentioned that some people would sell at the flea market and then moved toward a brick and mortar eventually because they built like a clientele, they built a business.
Yes, exactly.
So it's a great opportunity for like people to start off. You can say more about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. So it's like, essentially some of these businesses have their storefronts and are wanting to expand, but not necessarily with another store. And so they'll come to the flea market on the weekends, right? And then, send a couple of their employees there. So there's that route. Or then, like you said, then the other route is, oh my gosh, we have this business at the flea market. It's doing really well. We should have something Monday through Friday, right? We have a vendor at one of our locations that, she does candles and these like, little cutesy gem designs on like candles or, wine glasses. And during the week, she makes the orders and then on the weekends, you pick them up from the flea market. So instead of like her home or her delivering, you pick up all of your things from the flea market, right?
That's so great place.
Genius.
Yeah.
Exactly. So she's saving on her costs of like shipping and all these things, and she's interacting with her customers, but it's also not in her space. And so
exactly. You don't want people coming to your home and you're trying to legitimize yourself as a business.
Exactly.
You don't want that happening too.
Plus it gives her an opportunity to, so in the meantime, she's creating her products while she's there, and somebody might be walking by and being like, hey, what are you making? And, and then she gets an order.
Pick up a new client.
Totally. And then she'll put out, she has like, her lotions out and things like that. So she has one offset she sells. So that's another example. I recently, a few months ago, spoke at an entrepreneurial event at a high school. And in this department, the students, it's 2 semesters of like classes, and the first semester is like basic marketing mechanics. And then the second part is, the students put together their product that they want to sell. Right. And to me, like when they were kind of like explaining these things and like they go and pitch their products and, go to innovation camps and like, eventually they like win prizes for what they've created and designed. And the first thing that came to my mind was like, wow, like if these kids like actually came to either like a farmer's market or like a flea market or something to kind of test the waters and see like, because I was like talking to one of the kids and he's like, yeah, we weren't sure like if we should go with this like black label or this like royal blue label. And I'm thinking to myself like, wow, what a perfect way to be like, I would have put out some black ones and some blue ones and see
tested it out.
Yeah, right? Like see it sells better or whatever the case is. And so I think that's like a really cool opportunity too,
Yeah.
And to see kind of like how all of that works. Like, do you need more employees? Like, what are peak business hours? Like things like that. I think for like a young kid who's like very interested in building a business, the Flea is a great start. And then, like I've said, like there's so many people that, I've talked to on the ground that they go into it just thinking like, oh, I'm just going to do this for a few years. And then here they are with like children.
Long-term business, right?
To college,
right,
it's really amazing to see.
And as you're talking about like testing things out or just kind of like surprising things to find at the market, I'm thinking about like last year I went to a farmer's market and someone had incense like that they created. It was like a local business. And I don't go to that store. Like I knew the store, but I don't go there. But I was at the market and I could smell the incense. I was like, something's so good here. Like, what is this? And then I kind of saw that they were burning incense, which you wouldn't think. You're outside. Why would you be burning incense outside in the summer too, during the day? But I was like, oh my God, this smells so good. And I didn't like end up buying it in that moment, but I was like, I'm going to go to that store. And I ended up going to the store and buying the incense because of that like promotion, right? It's like they just kind of have the incense burning. I would have never thought at a farmer's market to like smell that or kind of be exposed to that, Right. But they won me over.
Yeah.
So like really it is like you're saying, it is a place to test out new like products, and to kind of have like the creative the creative side of like promotion.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing too, right? Like a flea market such as Swap-O-Rama, like we're an established brand at this point. We've been around for over 50 years, you know? And so it's way better for you to test something at a place that has the foot traffic versus like getting a storefront that is next to like a Jimmy John's that you might see a few customers. Like, for example, if someone's going to Jimmy John's, they're not going to go to you next door. They're just going to Jimmy John's, right? Like in the strip mall. So it's like at a flea market, though, like you kind of can't help but like if you're passing by the guy next to you, like you're going to look.
Yeah.
You know, so it's...
You are doing it all. You're doing the Jimmy John's and the, you know, the shoe browsing or whatever.
Yeah. Like a customer in there is going in with the intention of hitting every booth or at least browsing. So why wouldn't you want those eyeballs on it, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
So I think it's kind of a no-brainer if you're doing that.
And it's like kind of a cool way where everyone like lifts each other up too,
yes.
right? Like I'm sure you see this where people are, you know, like, oh, I don't have this, but check out that vendor over there who does have this. And, you know, they're kind of helping market each other, like promote each other in a way.
Exactly. I mean, and you hit it right on. Like the sense of community there is pretty crazy, right? Like even if it is a competitor, you know, even because what's going to happen if you come back, you are the consumer, if you come back and you bring a couple friends, like next time you bring your mom, next time you bring your husband, next time you bring your kid, like whatever, those are all new people that are coming in. So if you're not helping me, you're helping this person. And then
exactly,
if you even if you are happy with someone else's booth and you tell someone else, then they might hit up your booth. So it's at the end of the day, like so many times, like, you know, we see vendors like kind of bicker over it, and it's like, why
like
are
they
you
kind of bicker over
like they'll just be like, oh yes, like why are you putting another, you know, jeweler next to me? It's like, it doesn't matter. Like you each have different items, like different approaches to what you're doing. And for the most part, we find that they, you know, do well. All of them succeed at the end of the day, you know, especially if they support each other.
Exactly. So, yeah. Do you feel like there are some vendors who are like really plugged into the community there who like, I don't know, kind of like have a really distinct personality and like make sure to be like connected with everybody else who sells there?
Yes. I mean, there's definitely some bold personalities and characters without a question. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's the best part about doing business, you know, especially in this setting, you know, like you gotta get a little dirty, you know.
It's not that sleek. Yeah.
This isn't like
it need to be.
Yeah, this isn't Louis Vuitton where they're coming to you with like, you know, a nice champagne and you know, dusting your shoulder off. Like they're definitely gonna be like a nice hat, you know, whatever. But there are so many people, you know, as I've kind of mentioned, that sell a variety of things, but that actually have a story with it too. And they're not shy of telling you that, you know, so that part of the personality is always shining. And I think that that's the best way of doing business, because once you connect with someone, of course you want to support them. So there's so many times I'm like, oh, I feel like he suckered me in and I have to buy something now, you know?
Yeah.
So I'll do that a lot of times. But no, and you know, they're kind of culty too. Like they might act like they hate each other, but at the same time, like it's like, oh, let me call Bob down the road. Like he'll come to this event, you know, like let's say, I mean, you think about it. Like if you were going to have a garage sale with your neighbors, like, you know, your neighbors are tight. So you're going to call them and everyone's going to hop on board, you know what I mean? And they're going to support each other and all of you are selling junk, you know what I mean? But it's like the point of, let's just do this thing that we enjoy doing. And I think that that's what the vendor relationships are.
Yeah, they get to kind of self-organize in a way. And they get to sort of shape the market as workers as they want it to be, right?
Think about it. It's your livelihood. And the person directly next to you is the person that is also feeling that effect, right? Like if it's a slow day,
everybody kind of suffers, right?
Who do you complain to than the guy next door? Even though he's selling socks and you're selling speakers, like you guys still can bond over that, you know?
Yeah.
And so they have, and it's like really fun.
Which is probably really nice too for some like small like vendors, sole proprietors, right? To like both work for yourself, but then also have that community. Because I know a lot of people who are in like white collar jobs who work for themselves really struggle to have that network and that community and can feel really isolated in their like self-employment. And so it feels like the flea market is like this really nice way for people as employees, right? As like workers for themselves to have a larger network of support.
I mean, that's an interesting point, right? Like you have like the white collar people in business, and networking for them, I think, is a lot harder because not only are you selling yourself, but then you have to sell whatever product or company that you're selling. So it's like, oh, you know, like I'm Kristina, I, you know, work for Salesforce and I sell this product, and like, you want this product, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it feels a little harder and inauthentic. Whereas like at the flea market, everyone's themselves. Everyone has like, you know, their bootstraps on, like everyone's willing to go to work. They're willing to like work with you. Like it's just a different feeling. It's not as like, it just feels a little bit better. And so like, again, even if you are competing with me and selling the same items, like, hey man, like I'm going to scratch your back if you scratch ours. I've seen people like, there was one instance where there was like a vendor buying from another vendor because they sold out of their stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right? Like
things like
you
that
gotta sell something.
all the time. You know, of like, there was one guy selling like jewelry and he's like, well, I'm going out of town next weekend. Like, I'm not going to be here. Do you want this? And they like buy it off each other. Like they just work together in a very unique way. Or same things like their suppliers, like, hey, my supplier is out of this. Does your supplier have that? So they work together in a variety of ways. And it's really cool to see the community.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and I think people probably feel that when they're there too.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that
it just makes the whole like experience from like consumer to, you know, seller just feel really good. You know, and of course there are those like one instance where it's, you know, it sucks, but for the most part, it's cool. It's a cool sense of community.
Yeah. Which I think you don't always find shopping at other places. And I know we talked about malls and like how kind of malls are disappearing.
Yeah.
But it feels like flea markets is like a space where there are small vendors, small booths. Like it is thriving and it is vibrant because of like the shared community that you feel as a like consumer when you go there, and then for the vendors as well. Yeah,
I mean, you know it too, because you're a big supporter of small businesses, right? Whether it's even a coffee shop or whatever, it just feels different it feels different going to this lady to buy her secondhand, if you will, Target shoes, versus actually going to Target to seeing like a human that's like just there getting a paycheck. They probably don't care. They're not going to talk to you. Like, it's a different experience. Whereas like this, you can actually see their kids next to them working sometimes, you know, like they're 15-year-olds trying to learn the business.
People want to be
husband.
There. Yeah, want to be there. And they have some ownership of what they're doing.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
So, because of it.
Well, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, this was really good.
Yeah. I mean,
a little refresh in the hot seat here.
You have the insights. So
I have all the insights. I try to.
Behind the scenes. Can you tell us, like, one of the weirdest things that you've seen happen at the flea markets? Just like an odd story. Yeah, where you were like, I would not have thought that this would happen here. Or anything is possible.
I know. I'm trying to think. You know, I don't know. I don't even think that they're weird at this point anymore. That's why it's like,
right, you're just
a very hard question.
Well, because I'm thinking about like, even I remember a few years ago, like during the holidays, you had like hired like Christmas carolers. Like those are the exact. I mean, that's not like a spontaneous thing that just like happened at the market. You planned it, but that's something that I would not expect if I'm going for that to happen. But that's very cool.
Yeah, no, of course. We always try to do like different kind of things like that. We did like a lucha libre event, which is like, you know, Mexican theater wrestling. So it's like, so it was like really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's free as part of experiencing being there.
Exactly. So it's very cool. I don't know. We always try to do like eclectic things, but it's like, It's one of those things kind of like at a restaurant too, where it's like when you think you've seen it all, like you haven't, you know, like in terms of like what people are selling, or like, you know, you're trying to negotiate with someone and they like, you know, they're just like so quirky, like, you know, you think it's like, we had like an employee who was like such an amazing employee, and he like was just so good at cleaning, and like I'm envisioning he had these like those little like clippers. I mean,
just like pick stuff up.
Yes,
Like,
it's just really cool. I don't know. Or like people singing randomly, like some like old school Mexican songs and stuff. Like it's just it's a very unique experience. It's very fun. So nothing is off the table, but
yeah, anything
goes.
Yeah.
So come experience it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, this was really fun. Thanks
for telling us more about things from your side.
Thank you so much. I love it so much. Appreciate you being here and wanting to hear my insights. And yeah, so as always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the things to our channel. Catch us here next week at Union the Flea, and I'll see you then. Bye.